We happen to have a very good program today, and the program chair, of course, is, you may have guessed, our rising star, Jody Kern. Jody Kern was sponsored into our club by Sandy Schley in 2006. I thought it was much longer than that, but it proves that she has made a big impact in our club. Since that time, 2006, Jody has been active on the Community Service Committee, the Annual Fundraiser Committee, and the Camp Enterprise. In addition, Jody has served on the Rotary Board as the PR and the Communications Chair, as well as Rotary Foundation Chair. Jody works for Wells Fargo as a private mortgage banker. Jody lives in West Bloomington and has a son who is 26 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a rising star within Edina Rotary, Jody Kern.
Sorry about that. Even I'm embarrassed by that whoosh. Thank you very much. It is my pleasure today to introduce you to Anita Reeder, who's the Senior Annual Giving Officer for Zone 28 and 29 of the Rotary Foundation. Anita is the primary contact for every Rotarian every year and other fundraising strategies. She joined the staff at the Rotary Foundation in June 2007 and enjoys assisting Rotarians with growing our Rotary Foundation. Her connection with Rotary International began in high school when she received a scholarship from the Rotary Club of Amherst, Massachusetts, and in college at Northwestern University, where she temped for a summer at the Rotary Foundation in the Ambassadorial Scholarships Division. Did you know Ellen Kennedy then? Anita is also a classical flautist. Did I say that right? Okay. Working on that pronunciation. Having performed professionally throughout the Midwest as well as in Europe and Japan. She taught for 9 years in higher education and holds a doctoral degree in music. A former Fulbright scholar in London, Anita has also lived and studied in Matsumoto, Japan, and Jalapa, is that right, Mexico? While music remains a passion for Anita, she believes in the philosophy of lifelong learning. She recently relocated to the Twin Cities from Evanston, Illinois, with her husband, Bob, daughters, Jillian and Natalie, and their dog, Bruce. Please join me in a warm welcome for Anita Reeder. Thank you.
Good. First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much, and thank you to Jody especially for welcoming me here today. This is my second time visiting your club. Jeff O had invited me earlier this year, and it's just my honor and privilege to be here with you today. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank you on behalf of our General Secretary, John Huco, and our manager of the Rotary Foundation, John Osterland, and also the trustee chair of our Rotary Foundation, Bill Boyd, the past Rotary International president. Can you hear me better now? Okay. So I want to thank you on behalf of all of these folks, and there's probably over 500 staff at the Rotary Foundation, or the Rotary headquarters in Evanston. It's an amazing place if you ever have an opportunity to visit. Rotarians are always welcome. You don't need an appointment. We are glad to give you a tour, and there's some marvelous things to see there. So thank you. Thank you, Edina Rotary Club members. You are a marvelous club. As you know, the #1 club in the universe, right? And you are, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more in detail about that. But first I want to give you a little background story about me. And you heard in Jody's introduction that my background is actually in music, and classical music specifically. Going way back, when I was a baby, my mom says I learned how to sing before I could talk. So that's the family myth. And little did I know that would lead me on a path eventually to Rotary. And I'll tell you a little bit about how that happened. Of course, went to music school, went to Northwestern, had a thriving career as a freelance musician in Chicago, played with Chicago Symphony, played with the Milwaukee Symphony, played with the Joffrey Ballet, taught, and I'm on a lot of CDs and did jingles and so on. But at one point in my life, when my kids were small, I started thinking about, I wonder what else I can do with my brain. Is there anything that I could transfer to something else? It's a kind of a tough life being a musician. It's very competitive, and you have to kind of be dogged and determined to make a go of it. So one day I was having lunch with one of the board members of a chamber music group that I used to play in. Turns out this man is a Rotarian. He said, Anita, you really seem to have a knack for fundraising. I had been doing fundraising for all of these music organizations, writing grants and holding events, and serving on boards and so on. And he said, you seem to have a knack for development. And I didn't even know what development was. But he said, I know somebody at the Rotary Foundation, you really ought to consider it. It's a great organization. So he put me in touch, and that person put me in touch with the woman who would become my boss. And I think there's some reasons that music is a really good connection to fundraising, because to have that passion and determination to do well in anything transfers very well to fundraising. The ability to work with artistic temperaments is a transferable skill. Just the fact of getting up on stage every week and playing and knowing that if you make a mistake, it will be heard, leads to really good preparation practices. And I think all of my international travel and living abroad has kind of opened up my mind to other cultures, other ways of living, which, of course, is right up the alley of Rotary and Rotary International. So for a lot of reasons, I am now serving as a fundraiser primarily, and it's a great life. I love it. So let's see if we can go forward with this presentation. So we just celebrated Thanksgiving, as Wooj was saying. And there's often, around that time of year, a lot of talk about thanks and giving, right? So I would like to talk a little bit about what we have in common, what we hold in common as human beings. And when we look at the basics of life, we all have desires to satisfy that we share. Real basics like food, clean water, a peaceful environment, education, opportunities for our children, opportunities for ourselves. And all of us want the best, obviously, for our children. And worldwide, we all share the commonality that we want to have our friends, be thankful for them, and various joys in life. Well, one of the basic ways that we can share our thanks is by sharing with others. So like I said, I wanted to express my gratitude to all of you for serving as Rotarians, for all that you do in your community and worldwide, sharing your time, your talent, your treasure. You've had a direct role in impacting lives, and you may not have the opportunity to travel like Tim has done or like Sandy has done. You may never get to meet those Ugandans. Tim was saying 670,000 who have been impacted by the grant that you've been directly responsible for. So you may not get to meet them, you may not get to thank them, or they may not get to thank you, but as a Rotarian in the Edina Rotary Club, you've had a direct role in changing those lives for the better. So what is the motto of Rotary? Thank you, Ellen. Service above self. And I would say that service actually gives deeper meaning to self. Service gives deeper meaning to self. How about every Rotarian every year? What does that mean? Just shout it out what does it mean to you? Contribute. Money. What else? What else?
Doing good in the world.
Doing good in the world.
Commitment.
Commitment. Good. Anything else? Any other? Habit. Everyone. Okay, wonderful. Really good ideas. That woman who became my boss actually came up with that slogan, Roylene. This is our theme from our President Kailan Banerjee this year. Reach within to embrace humanity. And that really ties right back in with what do we have in common? What do we share? I also believe that philanthropy is good business. So philanthropy really just means love of fellow man. And it's been proven over and over again that businesses that you have a mission of philanthropy, they do very well. Okay, what's our mission? Why do we have a Rotary Foundation? You have an Edina Foundation. Why should we need a Rotary Foundation? What's the point of that? Well, our mission is to enable Rotarians. That's you, everyone in this room. The mission is to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. Now, those are very lofty words, and I think they're quite daunting. I can't imagine myself trying to achieve any of those things. Alleviate poverty? Are you kidding? But because I contribute to the Rotary Foundation, I know that my dollars are being used collectively with a lot of other dollars to achieve those very things: alleviating poverty, supporting health, improving health, and supporting education. So we accomplish this by putting our brains together, coming up with ideas, coming up with solutions, and putting a lot of effort into it. Some of the efforts are these, and you may have heard about some of these, what they call areas of focus. So peace and conflict resolution, one of those things that we hold in common. Maternal and child health, disease prevention, basic education, literacy, all the way up through graduate school, economic and community development. So let me ask you, what does the Rotary Foundation mean to you, and why is it special to you? Any answers? Any thoughts? Have you been directly involved, perhaps, in one of these areas?
So it permits that breadth you're talking about, the ability to reach beyond the local environment and contribute at a larger setting.
Okay, so breadth. Anything else? Any other thoughts? Okay. Well, I encourage you to share those stories, because it's by doing that that we then let others know about the wonderful things Rotary is doing, what Rotarians are doing. Let's talk a little bit about polio. I think for many, polio eradication is very, very important. It is our signature piece. And since 1985, when we began truly working on this, over 2 billion children have received this vaccine because of Rotarians. Many Rotarians go on service trips to immunize children. Has anyone here ever gone on what they call a National Immunization Day? It's something you can do if you want to. You can go and help assist the healthcare workers with immunizing. Over 210 countries and principalities have become certifiably polio-free because of Rotarians. You can feel really good about this. This is part of our mission, and because you contribute to polio eradication, it is happening, and we're super close to it. Only one case in India this year so far. Huge, huge country of India. Can you imagine how many millions of babies have to be immunized every year in India? So it's happening. If you want some good updates on that, a really good resource is polioeradication.org. Weekly updates. polioeradication.org, all one word. Let me talk about one of my favorite projects of the Rotary Foundation, Group Study Exchange. Has anyone here ever gone on one or sponsored someone? Awesome, yay. Gentlemen here that you just raised your hand, where did you go, or where?
I led a group to Lebanon in 2000, and as a point of information, I was able to apply or to give some immunization to some young kids in Beirut when we were there during one particular day. So when you mentioned about being a part of that, I connected with that personally.
Well, since this program began, over 14,000 teams of Group Study Exchange have crisscrossed the globe. That's phenomenal. 14,000 teams of business people sharing their ideas, meeting each other, overcoming their language barriers, overcoming their cultural differences, getting along. And then what does that lead to? I think world understanding. That's really what we're about. When I think of the first object of Rotary, what is the first object of Rotary? An acquaintance, right? Acquaintance is an object of service. So what better way than by traveling across the globe and meeting each other and getting to know each other. Scholarships. Well, as you heard, I was a Fulbright scholar. And we have at Rotary the Ambassadorial Scholarship Program as well as the Peace Scholar Program. They're quite different from Fulbright in many ways. The main one being that it truly is an ambassadorial position. You're not just going to study, you're really going to be an ambassador from your country, and you are connected with Rotary and Rotary clubs and professionals in those communities where you live. Not so with Fulbright. You're just totally on your own with the Fulbright, and I truly wish I'd had a Rotary scholarship instead. But isn't it amazing to look and see over 40,000 scholars have been sponsored? And each one of those scholarships, in today's numbers, it's like $26,000. It's huge. This particular girl here, or woman, I should say, Naoko Yamazaki, she was sponsored by her club in Japan, came to study at the University of Maryland. She's now an astronaut. She's the second Japanese female astronaut. And she was very, very much appreciative of her scholarship. She said it had a huge bearing on her career. Ellen shared with me earlier some of the scholars that the Edina Rotary Club has sponsored and put forward. Recently, Andrew DeRora, who studied in Venezuela, and Angie Cousins, who studied in New Zealand. So you can feel very proud about that as well. Now, district grants are a way that you can get something back from what you give. I often like to talk about what do you get when you give, because you do through the Rotary Foundation. Basically, you can apply for one of these grants, and I know that, is Leslie here today? Leslie Krajewski? She's not here? Okay, she had told me about Strive, and I guess she's very involved with Strive at the high school, and I know Strive has benefited from the District Simplified Grant. Simple grant, 3 pages long, really easy to apply for, and it gives you monies to spend in your community. Some of the other things that I think clubs nearby have done are things like school uniforms and playground equipment, picnic shelters, landscaping, and that sort of thing. An ethics workshop, have any of you been involved in that? In any case, you can apply, so do. Now here's where Edina Rotary Club really shines. Matching grants, big grants with a lot of money involved. And Tim Murphy was very helpful to me in giving me a lot of information about the Uganda project, which is been going for 2 years and is almost completed. And what I think is amazing about it is you started out with $200,000, and then you get the $150,000 match, so that it blossoms into this huge $350,000 grant that can be used and has been used for boreholes and wells and so on, and impacting 670,000 people. So I think when I turn on the tap every day, I never, ever think about if I'm going to get sick. I just don't. I don't think any of us do. But when I went to the Dominican Republic this year on a Rotary service trip, and we were installing biosand filters, everywhere we went in our hotel, we saw these signs with the water faucet and a circle and a line through it. No potable. You can't drink the water. And it was like, wow, you just can't take it for granted everywhere. But we do here. And imagine all of those people in Uganda now will not get sick when they drink water. So what do you get when you give? Let's talk about the one. I know you're also involved in another project in Malawi that's very similar, where you give some money, you get a big return. You've also been involved in a grant in India for serving women in villages there. It started out with just a $1,000 grant. So the Edina Rotary Club gave $1,000, but it blossomed to $37,000. So how does that happen? Does anybody know? How does that grow like that? How does it leverage? Any ideas of why that works? No? Okay. Basically what happens is you give some cash, you get some district funds to match with it, and the Rotary Foundation also kicks in money. So these grants start out small, and they grow, and they grow, and they grow. So your impact is so much bigger. I know in Sierra Leone, you did another water project there, and it started out with Edina Rotary Club gave $13,000. It grew to $52,000. What's interesting about when you do things like that is it also attracts donors of significant gifts. So like a donor like Foster Fries that Sandy had mentioned, he was very attracted to the fact that it could grow and that his money could be matched to be a really big, big project. You know, the district altogether gave about $500,000. It was matched then by another almost $1.2 million in district funds. And then the Rotary Foundation matched again with another $1 million, all together for about 54 different projects. So you see how far your money can go through the Rotary Foundation Annual Programs Fund. So that's what you get when you give. Talked a little bit about the Peace Centers. This is a really neat program. We have scholars, about 60 a year, that get awarded from around the world to go study in 7 different universities around the world. It's very specialized, 2-year master's degree program. And I know that your club can feel really good about the scholar that they've just sponsored. And I think you heard from her recently, Whitney Howe, correct? Oh, Draganovitovich. But you also have a scholar currently studying in Bradford, who's Whitney Howe. So fabulous. And I was a little bit embarrassed and hesitant to put this one up because I know your goals are far greater than that, than $100 per year. But it is sort of our standard, I guess, around the Rotary world. The more important thing, though, and the reason why I kept this slide is the idea that everyone participate, 100% participation. I think that's very key because we want to have a unified approach and be doing this for the good of the cause of the club. So every Rotarian every year. Talked a little bit about this matching program. Basically what happens is you give your money to the annual programs fund, it gets invested for 3 years, the district gets half of it back that you can apply for your program, for your projects. The other half goes to the World Fund, which the trustees determine how it's going to be spent, and it's basically being spent on current projects that are going on right now. Let's talk a little bit about what your dollars can do. So $100, you could buy 16 lipsticks or 20 bags of potato chips, or you could provide desks for children in Honduras. Do you know that a lot of schools have nothing? Rotarians have told me they go and visit, they visit the school, and the kids are sitting on the floor. Mosquito nets, huge problem, dengue fever and malaria. When I was in the Dominican Republic, people came up to me and said, please, we don't have screens on our windows. This is a big, big problem. Tuition for one high school student in China. Well, let's talk about something that's maybe more apropos for Edina Rotarians, $1,000 a year. This is definitely much more doable for you. I know that over 30 of you contribute at this level each year, and I thank you very much for that. Maybe something you don't know is that those who give $1,000 or more a year, only 2% of Rotarians. However, that comprises 1/3 of our total giving each year to the annual fund. It is highly vital and highly significant. So I thank you very much if you are able to do this. And it does so much good. Dental care, 1 portable dental chair for children in Mexico, 400 pairs of eyeglasses for patients in Nigeria, microcredit loans for women, and 23 women in the Philippines. So your money goes very, very far. I'd just like to close with a few words from our trustee chair again, Bill Boyd. Bill is from New Zealand. He's a wonderful gentleman if you've ever had the chance to meet him. He said that Rotary's success depends on the support of every Rotarian and everyone in the family of Rotary. All of us are working toward the same goals, better communities and a better world. Thank you. If we have time, I'd like to take questions. Questions about the Rotary Foundation? How you can make use of it? Yes?
Curious, how far do we think we are from polio eradication?
Entirely. I think we're still quite far because each country has to be polio free. Oh, how far are we from being polio free in the world? I think we're still quite far because those endemic countries need to be polio free for 3 years. Okay, and they're not there yet. There's a wonderful PowerPoint that was just put together for staff, which I could make available to you if you would like, on the progress made thus far and where we still need to really work hard. One of the sort of insidious things about polio is that it's airborne, and the carrier can be symptom-free, in fact, never exhibit symptoms, but passes it on unwittingly. And so what happens is countries do a good job of immunizing their populace, but then somebody from another country comes over and visits or something like that. Or somebody goes and visits that country and they pass it on and that country is not doing the immunizing. And so that's how it ends up spreading. So we've been really successful in our country. Lots of other countries have been successful, but not all. I think a lot of the African nations have done a great job. So I wish I could say something more specific, but like I said, I can make that available. Yeah. Other questions? Sandy?
There are rankings for foundations. Tell us where the Rotary Foundation fits into those rankings and who.
Okay. All right. So how does the Rotary Foundation rank? That's a really good question. And I truly believe it's you must do your due diligence. For any charity that you give to, you must investigate. Find out what their annual report is. Get a hold of their annual report. Get a hold of their 990, what they file with the IRS. This information is available to all Rotarians on the Rotary.org website. Just click on financials. You can get all of those reports. In terms of how we are evaluated by outside evaluators, 2 really good resources are Charity Navigator, which evaluates many, many charities in the U.S., and the Better Business Bureau Wise Giving. And they use lots of different parameters for, rating charities. But for an organization like ours that's so large and has such a big outreach and so on, in our class, I think we're usually rated within the top 10, sometimes within like the top 3 or 4. So rated very, very highly for stewardship, for investment, for doing what we say we're going to do with the money. So that, again, you can feel very good about. I saw a question back there.
Even though we're a few years away from achieving our polio objectives, is there another big worldwide project on the books to follow that, or not?
I think so, because, when we talked about those 6 areas of focus, I know that Rotarians are very interested in water and sanitation, for example, and I can't speak for, what's going to happen down the pike, but I wouldn't be surprised if it would be something like that. There's another question I saw a minute ago. No? No more? Oh, sorry. Mm-hmm.
What percent of Rotary's funding goes to scholarships versus some of the other programs, such as matching grants?
Sorry, I don't have that off the top of my head. It will be in the annual report, however. Yeah, there's a question back a little bit further. No? Any more questions? Yes?
One of your lines spoke of conflict resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain further what Rotary's connection is with that kind of work?
Okay, so okay. The question is about conflict resolution and what is Rotary's involvement. In terms of direct involvement, not that I am aware of. However, the idea of training people in their careers to be better advocates is one that Rotary has embraced for quite some time. And the ability to have people trained and then going out and actually doing their field work and serving as ambassadors or serving at the UN or serving in refugee camps, that is invaluable. And so that is really what Rotary's involvement is through the Peace and Conflict Studies program.
If I could just comment on that, Rotary has had a consultative presence the United Nations since its founding. And I think that's yet another way that Rotary is involved in conflict prevention.
Very good. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Anita, for your presentation on the Rotary Foundation and how we as a club are supporting these important initiatives locally and across the world. The message is clear. Our donations matter. No matter how large or how small, we all have the ability to make a difference. On behalf of this year's Rotary Foundation Annual Chairperson, Chris McGinty, who's not able to be here today, I promised him I would give a plug for Safe Water Plus. He always mentions, never fails to, that your money can grow by 10 times for every donation you give. So for $1 that you donate becomes $10 in the Safe Water Plus campaign. Our club has a rich history of supporting Rotary initiatives internationally, and on behalf of your talk today, Anita, we will be making a donation to the Polio Plus in your honor. So we thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita, to come to speak to us today. Thank you, Jody, as well, to bring the wonderful speaker and program to us. I know a lot of us here are financial planners, but I don't know of anybody who can turn $1 to $10 just like that. It's amazing that only $1,000 we raised at this club turned out to be $37,000 after matching. So it is quite a magical act Rotary can perform. So keep that in mind. I am a humble member of those 40,000 recipients of the International Scholarship, Ambassadorial Scholarship. I still remember I received $23,800 in 1990. And I did some calculation recently. If the Rotarians didn't give the money to me, they could have invested in blue chip company like Microsoft. And guess what? Today they will be sitting on $2 million. So is there a better world? Maybe, I don't know. But I can tell you that it changed my life, and I met so many wonderful people, including all of you here. And I thought, well, maybe I should pay back. So I joined Rotary, and I've been coming to this Scandinavian group of people the past 18 years. And I'm trying to pay back to young folks who can make the circle full. So Rotary has been wonderful. And I want to recommend Ian and Roshini, who are lawyers, to consider joining Rotary. It could create a magic in your life as well. Today's closing quote comes from Leo Tolstoy. If you want to be happy, be happy. I guess it's a matter of choice that you can decide to be happy or unhappy. Guests and visiting Rotarians, thanks for coming to today's meeting. Let's remember that we are in the business of reaching within to embrace humanity. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.